Too often, the phrase Black history invokes thoughts of iconic individuals and civil rights leaders of 50-plus years ago who accomplished amazing things against insurmountable odds. But sometimes, history can be made quietly, without fanfare, and it doesn't have to take place a couple hundred years ago. History can be made a year ago, a couple of months ago, or a few days ago. In this episode of Beyond February, we talk with Kevin Rasberry, a history maker who's making history today by founding South Carolina's first single-gender public school. Located in Orangeburg, South Carolina, Rasberry's history-making institution is challenging young men to be their best selves and attracting the attention of high-profile individuals like renowned neurosurgeon and once President hopeful Dr. Ben Carson, who stopped by the school while campaigning in South Carolina for the 2016 Republican presidential nomination. We sat down to talk with Kevin about the mark he's made on history and the impact he's having on his students' lives. Kevin, how you doing today, man?
All is well.
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for inviting us out, man. You are doing something awesome here. Would you start off, tell us a little bit about the school?
Well, Garden City Prep, of course, is the first single-gender public school in the history of South Carolina. And so the school is a school founded in mentorship and discipline. And so our environment, our culture surrounds that. Our prep uniform policy kind of lends to that. And so we wanted to create that type of forum to where all of the boys felt equal. And once we can accomplish that, then we can work on the academic structure, the life skills, and building their social lives the way they need it to be.
Where did the vision for this type of institution come from?
Well, I've mentored for about 20 years. And so one of the things I saw was I actually found it in my hypocrisy, because I would always talk about boys and their pants slouching down. And so this lady one day, she just happened to tell me, she said, well, why don't you do something about it if you're always complaining? And so I started looking into it. And one of the things I was first designing was a little, like a boys' home. And how we, if the boys not they have homeless or they have situations in school, I was looking at putting them in this house and teaching them life skills and that type thing. And so it just kind of grew from there. When I started looking at it. And so somebody from the Department of Juvenile Justice, I met with them, and they actually stole the idea. It's transition homes. Mm-hmm. And so I was frustrated about it, but then I got to talking to somebody else. They said, why don't you think about doing this as a school? I'm like, I'm not an educator, but the one thing they told me was, you know how to lead people. So if you can lead people, you can get the educators, you can put them in position, and so you can kind of go from there. And so I just kind of reached out, but at that time, it was illegal to have a single-gender public school in the state, so I had to wait till that law got changed.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the type of students that you have here. Are they your traditional student, or are they students that need a little bit more attention, or what type of student?
Well, I mean, we're a regular public school, so our doors are open to all types of boys that come in, whether they be the racial background, the socioeconomics, none of that really matters. Even their academic status. So we have it from one gamut to another. We had a kid here that's basically scoring on almost a 9th grade level in standardized testing, but you got some that come in the door that's on kindergarten level in the 6th grade. And so our job then is to find that way of getting them to grow. And so growth is a key element here. We start talking about standardized testing, that type thing. Well, how fair can it be when you get a kid in and he's in the 6th grade, he's on 2nd grade level, but he's got a test at the 6th grade because we got to teach the standard. So that's why we have the interventions and those type things to try to get their level of learning up.
Now, what grade do the school go up
to? Currently we're 6 and 7, but we add a grade each year up to 12th grade. Our charter is for 6 through 12.
Okay. Now, what I was noticing is that there are a lot of African-American young men here. Is that difficult in this day and age and with this climate?
When you say difficult,
how is it? Is discipline a problem? I see that all the young men are well dressed, well behaved. Part of the problem in the school, public school system, especially with African American men, young men, that they're disciplinary problems.
Right.
And that leads to low test scores. That leads to them getting in trouble and kicked out. So how do you deal with that factor?
We don't allow it. I mean, simply what you have to do is create that structure. And we are no nonsense. Listen, you're here for a reason. And I always explain to them why I'm doing something. Why the uniform policy, you know, especially when parents come, well, why they got to wear this particular uniform? And one of the reasons I did it, because we can always talk about being prepared, right? Is, you know, when an opportunity comes up, that's not the time to get ready. You should already be ready. Well, and I tell the boys all the time, if you look at your uniform, you are ready for just about everything. Job interview, school, approaching new people, all of that. This uniform will allow all of that. And so the way that you wear it and the way that you act when you're wearing it, you know, you don't want people to perceive you to be something that you're not. Well, with this uniform, they're going to think, okay, wait a minute, you know, maybe I can approach them. And it has put some pride in some of them when they didn't have that. Because in a traditional school, sometimes you have the have and the have-nots. This one is wearing Jordans, this one wearing Skips. You know, you got all of that going on, the type of gear. Well, everybody here wears the same thing. So I put them all on that level playing field. That helps us with behaviors. And so from that, like I said, we hold everybody accountable. I'm on everybody's back. You know, I tell people all the time, I might be a butthole. I'm the same butthole with everybody. And so when I'm consistent with them, they respect that. These boys respect discipline. A lot of them don't have it. Our demographic here is over 83% of these kids are in a single-parent household. Our poverty rate is over 96%. But that's not an excuse, but that is for us to gauge and say, okay, this is the point we're starting at. Because you need to know where you're starting. That's just you know, the skinny on that. Once we establish that, now it's increasing that level of growth. And so my expectation, first of all, is behavior. I can't teach you if you don't allow me to do it. You can have the best educators in the world, and if that child is not prepared to learn when they get here, there's nothing you can do. And so that's why we had the mentorship piece. That's why I go and I do it in randomly, but I go to their houses. I check on what friends they're around. What does your room look like? You know, what's going on with the family dynamic in the house? Because just because mom is just there, that doesn't give you the reason to still act out, because you still got to live. So whether your father's there or not, you know, and so a lot of these kids are bought into the fact that they think I'm their father, or they think that Ms. Rasberry or Dr. Chapman is their mother. So we kind of give them that point of reference. So when they're not lacking anything. We have counseling services here. So if they need help with something, we got that here for them. So.
Okay. How many students do you currently have enrolled?
We have 76. We have about 15 students that's still trying to come in. The issue with that is we're a regular public school. So if you're suspended, you can't attend this school just like you couldn't any other school. And so you have some of that. We try to work with the parents, and it's not even the fact that to get in GCP, it's the fact of trying to help them to get in any school. You know, they just don't need to be without education. So those are services we offer outside of the school.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the curriculum here. You touched on it briefly, but expound on the curriculum.
Here it's a little tough, and that's purposeful, because we want to fill their day with education and fun. And a part of that, of course, we have the core courses, you know, the math, the sciences, the Englishes, and the social studies, but we also have a life skills class. We have a class with ITology, teaching them IT, teaching them keyboarding, teaching them coding and that type thing. And so we do project-based learning. So every class is almost a project. And I know some of you guys saw some of the stuff that was going on there. And so the life skills is important, because like on Fridays, we dedicate that entire day to physical fitness. They go to Gold's Gym. They have the personal trainers and that type thing. And so they work on swimming and introduction to weight training. They were doing Zumba and all this other stuff. And so they got to see some things that they didn't normally see. The nutrition classes they go to over there, because of that high poverty level. they only usually have access to stuff like ramen noodles. Well, we know it's a lot of plastic in ramen noodles. And so just having to be able to show and teach them a whole different way to eat and live is what we work on doing. And so that's the fun part. You know, we do have, you know, the recesses and things like that that Dr. Chapman instituted. And so that gives them a break because they have interventions morning and afternoon. And so our classes having both of that, that's pretty demanding on them with a long day. So
okay. Now this is an all-boys academy. Now tell me a little bit about the staff.
Well, we have a diverse staff, and that was purposely done as well, whether it be men and women, whether it be white or black, because they're never only going to encounter blacks when they grow up, when they're out into the workforce. And so we want to get them acclimated to diversity now. It's one of the reasons we do a lot of field studies. We haven't done that many in the last couple of months, but we're about to pick that up, where we go to a lot of different college campuses, we go to a lot of different businesses, and a lot of different museums and things like that, because I want them to interact with people and understand the different cultures and what all of them can add to their life. So that's a huge part of the school.
Okay. If the process of getting a child enrolled, if somebody was in the Orangeburg area and they wanted to see about getting their son in here, tell us a little bit about that process. It's
pretty simple, just like any regular traditional school. You just come and you fill out that packet. We have to get your records and things like that in, and it's just as simple as that. Any boy that can attend a public school in the state of South Carolina can come. So even to that point, we have kids that come from Columbia every day. We got kids that used to come from Charleston, and so anywhere in between. So we're a statewide school. So any student eligible in the state can come.
Now, admission criteria when you're dealing with all men, especially, if there's a student that may have had some behavioral problem or behavioral challenges, would that student still be able to get in? Yeah,
and we just, when it's the school year, we have to be, we have to do our due diligence on that. And we have to look at what caused some of those other issues. And because we're a public school, and we can't just tell them, no, you just can't come. But during the school year, depends on where we are, we can, based on what's going on with that student. And so that's why we request those records first, and we get them in. And so if there's some issues, I always interview the student, and we always interview the parent. And we try to find out what's the problem, what's the common ground, because it's always, they're a little bit shocked when they first come in this environment. Number one, because I don't let them get away with anything, and two, the structure. And so sometimes it takes them a while. To be honest with you, when a student comes in here, to fully get acclimated to our environment takes about 3 months. And that's with us being consistent and with them understanding what the expectations are.
Okay. Now, what are some of the things that the community can do to help out the school?
Some of everything. Donate supplies. Because of that high poverty rate, we supply just about everything for our students, whether that be paper, pencils. We do underwear. We help with shoes. We give them bow ties, that type thing. And so monetary donations always work. But to specifically say just supplies, that type of thing, but the biggest thing that they can give us, man, is their time. If they can volunteer and come and show these guys that they support them, that they're not on an island, because we're new, we don't have a whole lot of people that come through. And so that's why they get so excited when somebody comes to see them, because it's not normal. They see us all the time, and we're like family, but when somebody else comes, they feel like, everybody is in support of them.
If somebody wanted to reach out and find more information about the school, can you give some contact information?
Yeah, our website is www.gc-prep.org. Our phone number is 888-448-7641, or they can reach out to me directly, which is Kevin, simply Kevin, at gc-prep.org.
Okay. Kevin, thank you for taking the time to sit down with me. You're doing amazing things.
We appreciate you. Thank you, sir.